Hi, I'm Junior Ranger Leif Silva, and today I'll be taking you on an epic adventure through the Black Hills of South Dakota with stops to the Mammoth Site, Custer State Park, and Mount Rushmore National Memorial. In my last episode, we traveled back in time to explore the paleontology dig sites at Agate Fossil Beds National Monument and Toadstool Geologic Park in the Oglala National Grassland, both of which are located in the remote northwestern corner of Nebraska. I completed 5 more junior rangers and met a new friend, Max, and his dad, John, who were on the final week of their own epic camping adventure. After taking a morning hike through the Toadstool geologic formations that gave our campsite its name, the 4 of us traveled over the state line into the Black Hills of South Dakota, where I spent the next week exploring. There is so much to do and see in Black Hills that even though we spent a whole week there, we still have so many more things that we didn't have time to do. Guess I'll have to plan a return trip. The Black Hills mountain range was formed in a series of geologic uplifts. 2-billion-year-old rocks from the Earth's core were pushed upward, and volcanic activities then layered additional rock on top of these uplifts. The entire process took 2 million years of work, beginning 2.6 million years ago. Some of the gravel deposits on the top of the uplifts are only 10,000 years old. These geologic events divide the larger area of the Black Hills National Forests into 4 distinct districts. And in this episode, we will focus on Hell Canyon area and neighboring Custer State Park. About 140,000 years ago, a giant sinkhole formed in the area of modern-day Hot Springs, South Dakota, when a limestone cavern fell in on itself. The sinkhole, filled with warm spring water and nutrient-rich plants, grew all around it. Giant prehistoric mammoths and other animals came to the sinkhole for a sip to drink and a nibble to eat. But the steep edges of the sinkhole were made of shale, a very slick type of rock. If the mammoths made the mistake of going for a swim, or they simply fell in as they were getting a drink, they couldn't climb back out on the slippery rock. Over a period of 300 years, thousands of mammoths fell in and drowned in the deepest area of the sinkhole. Their bones dropped to the bottom of the lake, and eventually, when the area dried out, these bones were fossilized in mud and hidden deep underground for thousands of years. In 1974, a construction worker unearthed massive bones and ivory tusks as he began digging to build a housing development. Archaeologists working on the nearby Hudson Main Bison site that I visited in my last episode were called to find out what these bones were. As more and more fossils were discovered, the owner of the land decided to donate his 14 acres of land rather than develop it. And the Mammoth Site nonprofit was created to preserve and protect these amazing paleontology sites. Today, over 1,200 fossil bones, mostly from Columbian mammoths, have been discovered, with many more still remaining to be unearthed. Excavation work is scheduled for certain times during the year, and the remainder of the year is spent identifying and cataloging the newest findings. A climate-controlled museum was built over the active dig site to protect the findings, and this museum is open year-round for visitors like me. During the summer, you can participate in a paleontology day. Marshall Collin, a college archaeology intern, led our dig. He taught us what tools to use in order to safely find fossilized bones. He also taught us how to catalog the location of our findings. Our group worked together in a grid formation. I found a tarsal and a fossil bone fragment from a Columbian mammoth in my grid square. I can totally understand why those Columbian mammoths wanted to take a swim in the sinkhole. It sure was hot during my stay in the Black Hills. Thankfully, there are numerous safe places around the Black Hills to take a refreshing dip to cool off.
Hi, we're at Cascade Falls, outside of Hot Springs, with my friend Max here.
Cascade Falls has been a public swimming spot for 135 years. 6 springs bubble up and create a river just 2 miles upstream from the falls. The mineral-rich water allows some very rare, special plants to grow along the riverbank. Some of these beautiful flowers don't grow anywhere else in the whole state. In 1888, a husband and wife team founded the town of Cascade near the springs, and for a short time it boomed as the local resort spa town. But wealthy property owners in Hot Springs, just 8 miles up the road, wanted their town to be the premier resort spa in the area, and they paid for the railroad and stagecoaches to skip right over Cascade, putting the whole town out of business. When Cascade, the town, ceased to exist, Mr. and Mrs. Keith wanted to keep the swimming hole open and protect the rare ecosystem in this area. So they decided to donate the land so that it would forever be protected. In 1962, their descendants donated the springs and the falls to the U.S. Forest Service. Today there's a small parking lot and picnic area at both the springs and the falls, each named after one of the Keiths. The water that flows into the falls is 67 degrees all year round, which feels nice and warm in the fall and winter. Because we were there on another 104-degree summer day, the water felt cool and refreshing to us. If you are interested in trying out the warm mineral springs, but not so sure about jumping off a cliff into the falls, you can splish and splash at Evans Plunge.
Hi, we're at Evans Plunge in Hot Springs, South Dakota, where thousands of gallons of water is being pumped from the real springs into this pool complex.
Evans Plunge is the world's largest natural warm water swimming pool. 5,000 gallons of water per minute flow into the pool from a nearby thermal spring and maintain a temperature of 87 degrees. There's an indoor and outdoor pool, both with water slides and other fun activities to try out. Watch my mom swing on the ring. That's gotta hurt. A day pass gives you access to the pools, hot tubs, and a larger locker room with showers. And you can come and go whenever you want throughout the day, as many times as you like. Or if you want to swim outdoors in cool but calm water, you can check out one of the mountain lakes in the area.
Hi, we're in Custer State Park at Silvan Lake, which can only be accessed by driving the back roads of Needles Highway.
This massive recreational lake was created in 1891 when a dam was built across Sunday Gulch Creek. In addition to a lodge and several restaurants, the lake area has a beach, picnic places, rock climbing, small rental boats, swimming, and hiking trails. You must pay an entrance fee to Custer State Park to reach the lake, and it's good for entering and exiting the park for a whole week. You can reach Silvan Lake by entering the park from the west on Needles Highway. Needles Highway is one of 3 scenic drives in Custer State Park. Needles Highway is 14 miles long and gets its name from the needle-like granite formations that can be seen while driving the road. When driving Needles Highway, there are 3 very narrow tunnels carved into the rocks that your car must pass through, so be sure your vehicle can fit before attempting it. The other end of Needles Highway intersects with the Peter Norberg Byway, or SD16A. This is the main road through Custer State Park and the location of our campsite for the night at the State Game Lodge and Campground. The State Game Lodge is a large, beautiful, historic building that served as the summer White House for both President Calvin Coolidge and Dwight D. Eisenhower and their staff. Back home on the East Coast, I visited President Eisenhower's home, which is now a National Historic Site in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. After having dinner in the State Game Lodge dining room and learning about these 2 presidents, we headed back out to visit with 4 other presidents who hang out here in the Black Hills at Mount Rushmore National Memorial. Iron Mountain Road is the second scenic road in Custer State Park, and it starts just west of the State Game Lodge. Like Needles Highway, it has several small tunnels carved out of the rock that you pass through, but these tunnels were built to frame Mount Rushmore in the distance as you got closer. Mount Rushmore was carved by sculptor Gutzon Borglum between 1927 and 1941. He was chosen by South Dakota historian Dwayne Robinson. Robinson wanted to increase tourism into the Black Hills and suggested various subjects for the carving, including Buffalo Bill, Lewis and Clark, and Chief Red Cloud. Borglum chose 4 presidents who he felt represented important moments in our nation's history. George Washington represents the birth of our nation. Thomas Jefferson represents the expansion of our country's land. Abraham Lincoln represents the preservation of our Union. And Theodore Roosevelt represents the modern development of our country. As president, Theodore Roosevelt doubled the number of national parks and also signed the Antiquities Act, which allowed for the creation of national monuments, historic landmarks, and other type of units under the National Park System. Today we have 423 National Park Service units, thanks to Theodore Roosevelt, so it is fitting to have him included in this National Memorial. I arrived at Mount Rushmore about an hour before sunset, and that gave me plenty of time to complete my Junior Ranger by looking through the exhibits in the museum. My mom got me some of Thomas Jefferson's original recipe vanilla bean ice cream, and we settled in for the evening lighting ceremony. The ceremony includes a short movie and speech given by one of the National Park Rangers. It is timed perfectly so that it ends just as the sun sets completely and the area has become very dark. Then Mount Rushmore is lit up for all to see. Military service members and veterans in the audience are asked to come to the stage and retire the flag while we all clap to thank them for their service. It is a really moving ceremony, and I definitely recommend that you time your visit to Mount Rushmore so that you can experience this as well. While Mount Rushmore is best visited in the evening, the wildlife loop in Custer State Park is best driven first thing in the morning. This is the third scenic drive of the park, and it begins just a mile east of the State Game Lodge, headed south through 18 miles of grassland, wildflowers, and pine. If you can rouse yourself from bed at sunrise, there won't be many cars on the loop, but there will be plenty of wildlife. We got stuck in multiple bison traffic jams on our trip around the loop. You could see some of the 1,400 bison that roamed the park on your drive like we did. Or maybe some pronghorn, whitetail, or mule deer, elk, coyotes, prairie dogs, and a variety of birds like eagles and hawks. In addition to the many wild animals, you might see the begging burros. Burros were used back in the olden days to transport park visitors to the top of the mountains for sightseeing, when cars were still too new and not powerful enough to reach such high peaks. When the rides eventually ended, the domesticated burros were released into the park. The ranger told us that the burros are the one animal that visitors are allowed to interact with by offering them a carrot. In order to assure that there are enough natural resources for the truly wildlife, the park keeps the burro population to no more than 11. In March of this year, 6 burros that were born during my summer trip were auctioned off to area farmers. When you drive the wildlife loop, you'll want to take it slow. It took us about 2 hours to make it back to the State Game Lodge. And just across the street from the lodge is the Peter Norbeck Educational Center, where I completed my Custer State Park Junior Naturalist. To become a Junior Naturalist, you have to complete the activity booklet, participate in an interpretive program, and attend a Junior Naturalist activity. There was a calendar of activities posted in our campsite with lots of things to choose from, including evening programs that take place in the Tatanka barn, like learning about herbology or how to forage. The center has lots of fun interactive exhibits for kids. I used the knowledge I gained in the center and the sights I saw on my various adventures through the park to complete the Naturalist booklet. For my naturalist activity, I joined Ranger Patrick's yoga with animal poses. First, we drew pictures of all the state park animals we could think of. Then we went outside on the lawn and practiced our poses for each animal. interpretive program, I listened to Ranger Patrick give a talk on fire ecology. I learned that natural fire is very important to maintain the grassland. Without fire every few years to kill off the ponderosa pines in the area, the forest would become overgrown and the prairie would be lost to it. All the wildlife that relies on the prairie would also be lost. Unfortunately, due to climate change, drought, and human interference, the park is always in danger of fires getting out of control. Ranger Patrick explained that in 2017, a man-made fire burned over 30,000 acres, or a third of the park. He taught us ways that park officials work to control fires and put them out, like building a fire break or burning certain areas on a schedule that keeps the fire manageable. I'm really glad we learned about fire ecology so early on in our trip because many of the places we visited throughout our 5 weeks were suffering from dangerous wildfires that had spread out of control. I appreciated understanding the importance of some forest fires, how to be safe around it, and how to prevent wildfires. I completed 2 more junior rangers in this episode. There's still so much to explore here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Next up, I'm heading beneath the surface to explore Wind Cave National Park and Jewel Cave National Monument. And who knows, maybe I'll see you down there.